Okay, we are live. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Plenty of stuff to go through on the Manchester United side tonight. So let's get into it. First and foremost, we are in October and we were talking about the January transfer window, and I don't think that's a bad thing. Number one, because I think we need reinforcements, and number two, there's a lack of drama about Manchester United at the moment. Things are very quiet, and it's kind of nice for a change. We'd have to say that, of course. No crisis going into this particular international break. Now, make no mistake, if we did lose against Brentford at the weekend, that would be still being talked about until today, but it has been brushed under the carpet by the press, and we want to get talking about players going in, players going out. So first and foremost, Manchester United want a centre-back in January. Now, I don't think this is any surprise to us whatsoever. I think when we look at the centre-back options this year, it's an area in the pitch we really have been down to the bare bones. We signed Johnny Evans during the summer to come in as like a fifth or sixth choice centre back. He started several Premier League matches. I don't think that was the plan when we signed him. Thankfully, he is here and has helped us at least have cover in that position. But one thing is for sure, we need some reinforcements in that area. So we have not one, not two, not three, but four centre backs linked to Manchester United. Those players are down on tonight's poll as well. Those are Jean-Claire Tobido, Inacio as well, Edmund Tapsoba and Antonio Silva. Four very good up and coming centre backs. Now, out of those four, I think there's probably a clear number one in my opinion. That's going to be Antonio Silva, but the price tag is going to be so high to sign Antonio Silva. Obviously, some interesting options in there. Tobido, could something happen if Radcliffe was to take over there? I'm not sure. That could be something that we might see. Tapsoba, yeah, look, I think he's a good player. I'm not 100% convinced he's the right guy for Manchester United down there as well. Ignacio is an interesting profile, but he is more of a left centre back in all fairness. So if we brought him in, I don't think it really does what we need to do and cover those areas we need to cover. It's definitely right centre back, the issue of Manchester United. I don't think Victor Lindelof is good enough. I don't think Varane is going to last much longer with these injuries. And Harry Maguire, we don't know what the future holds for him either. So I'd be looking at right centre backs. Personally, my number one pick isn't on that list, unfortunately, and that is Ousmane Diamant from Sporting Lisbon as well. But there's some good options in there. So guys, let me know your thoughts down below on who would you like to see us bring in. Big shout out to everybody in the comments already. Jarl is down there. He would love to see one or two centre backs in January, but we would think we're going down the road of last January transfer window. Maybe a loan or something. Maybe that's what we end up doing in January. But it's an interesting thought to think about. I think we could have done with a centre back during the summer. I think we should have went all out and got Kim Min Jae. I think that could have been the real call. He was a target. He was a player we wanted, and we just didn't get him for whatever reason, budget, whatnot. The money wasn't there in June when he went to Bayern Munich. Unfortunately, we didn't get him, and he would be perfect, in my opinion. Look, out of the list of those players, Silva's probably my number one, but you're looking at £100 million. It's going to be a lot. I think Tobido, look, that's an interesting profile. We've been linked before. A good player. And he's very, very good in the ball. What we need in that centre back area. Played 153 passes in his last match for Nice as well. Absolutely ridiculous numbers there. But who else is down in the comments? Irfan is saying Per Shares and Kevin Danso would be a good centre back. Antonio Silva will be 100 million, and Benfica do like a lot of money. Stephanie's down below as well. Tobido is your choice, but plays for Radcliffe's Nice, so it's bound to be complicated. Yeah, look, that's a complication for sure. And Jason is down there as well. Antonio Silva will be expensive to get in January. Tobido looks more realistic, depending on what Nice would be willing to sell him for, only if Maguire is sold. I think that's what it's going to come down to as well, guys. I'm not sure if we're going to have a sudden influx of money, or where the money will have come from that wasn't available in summer to suddenly be available in January. I think ideally a couple of months ago we might have said perhaps the takeover would be done. There would be fresh money there, new investment. We haven't got it. It's not done. It's not over the line, and it's not really going anywhere anytime soon either, which is a frustration for sure. But yeah, look, I do like those players. I think the centre backs are definitely an area we need to improve upon. And look, Rafael Varane, if you look actually stats wise, he is one of the best performing centre backs in the league this year. But it's coming down to injury time and time again with Varane. I really don't think he is a long term option for Manchester United. I think, yeah, look, we'll probably get this season out of him. Do we get next season? I'm not sure. I couldn't really say if a massive offer came in from Saudi Arabia, for instance, for Varane. Maybe we should take it in summer. Maybe that's something to consider, and I'm sure Eric Ten Hag is considering those options. I think centre back will be an important area, and we do need more defensive reinforcements. I think some of the profiles in the back line, they're good. Like, don't get me wrong, but Luke Shaw is injury prone. Varane very injury prone. Martinez is going to be out probably until the new year with this injury, of course, as well. Rushback wasn't fit throughout this year, has re-aggravated that injury he previously had, so that's going to be a concern for sure. But I do think the defense needs worked upon as well. I think in terms of how we're going to play as well, if we're going to be playing out of the back, I think we got to be looking at some other players in there. Maybe a Tobido, maybe someone to come in at right back or left back. I think that's going to be an area we target as well, for sure in the upcoming transfer windows. But guys, get those thoughts in down below, of course, as well. So players going out, we do have one, and that's coming from Fabrizio Romano. A departure for Donny Van De Beek is very likely and is expected at Manchester United. I think that's a smart deal. I think Donny Van De Beek is a player who really has gone under the radar. Now, look, a lot of people were not happy during the summer when it looked like the Harry Maguire transfer didn't go through because of Maguire's own personal interests. Um, Donny Van De Beek is equally as culpable in that area as well. He is a player who should have went. He had a lot of offers for him, both loans and permanent deals, and all of them fell through. He didn't look willing to go to some of these clubs. So Van de Beek is a player we need to move on. Ideally in January, most likely going to be in the summer. Other players looking to go as well. Anthony Martial does not want to be a backup player, which screams of absolute delusion as well, because when we think about it, guys, Anthony Martial is a player who will be injured probably within the next 2 to 3 matches. We've just signed Rasmus Højlund. I don't see Martial making his way back into this team. I really don't. That's a player hopefully we let go of pretty soon. But I think, yeah, moving Van de Beek on is going to make a lot of sense. He's a player, it's just not going to happen for. Irfan is saying Martinez and Varane miss a lot of matches. Yeah, look, they have, and that's a big concern, Irfan, absolutely. I think what you really want in your team is for your defense to pick itself. A settled defense and a settled centre back partnership really does help with the stability of a team. We've had a lot of injuries, and a lot of them have been in that defensive area. We're looking, of course, Luke Shaw, Malacia, both injured. Martinez, Varane have been injured. Lindelof has picked up a knock. Wan-Bissaka is injured as well. Reguilon as well. So that's 6 or 7 injuries in the back line by itself. And when we have a goalkeeper who is just coming into Manchester United, needs to improve, obviously, but I don't think that helps him settle either. You know, Onana needs a settled back line to build up his own confidence. And look, that is something we desperately need to see at Manchester United. I think, yeah, Van de Beek's a player we should be moving on. Hopefully we move him on very quickly. It's just not going to happen. Look, we said during the summer last year, if it doesn't work for Eric Ten Hag and Donny Van de Beek, it's not going to work for anybody. Van de Beek made his name under Eric Ten Hag, so if Eric Ten Hag cannot get it out of Van de Beek, I don't think anyone's going to do it either. Stephanie says, what about Bennett from the 2022 Youth Cup winning team? He was captain, if I recall, centre backs and centre forward. Never seemed to break through. Yeah, look, they're difficult areas as well, Stephanie. You know, centre forwards are judged on the goals they score. A lot of the time, good young strikers coming through, they're not always physically ready. I don't think Charlie McNeil, for instance, would be physically ready. I think Reece Bennett's an interesting shout for sure, but a lot of players do come in. I think the easiest areas really to break in is on the wings. I think that's one of the easier options for young players coming through, even young strikers coming through. they get put on the wing quite a lot. We've seen it with Greenwood. We've seen it with other players as well. Luman, good to see you down below. Irfan says we need fit players to come. Yes, absolutely agree with that as well. We need fit players. We need players who are going to come in and be available. It's one thing being a really good player, but it's another thing not having, not being able to stay and play in the team, make the difference, grow into the team. That's so important as well. Absolutely essential in a lot of regards. So completely agree with you there as well, man. But yeah, look, Manchester United, we're seeing some interesting talk now. Jadon Sancho is another player. Obviously, this feud with Erik ten Hag is ongoing. There was talk today came out about a potential loan deal. Maybe that's the avenue we go down, but the position of Sancho also seems to be that he thinks he's going to outlast Erik ten Hag at the club. So that's an interesting one for sure. But I don't know. I really can't see Sancho moving it on either. I think Sancho is another player we could let go of and probably should. Just looking at the poll, you guys are very, very divided on this one, but Tobido does seem to have the most votes so far. So 42% saying sign Tobido, 11 for Inacio. We have 26% going for Tapsoba and 21% going for Antonio Silva. But guys, get your votes in down below. Drop a like on the video as well. I think we're up to 14 likes as well. So thank you very much for all that. But look, the Sancho situation is an interesting one. I think this is a player we're going to sell, and I don't think we're going to get a lot of money back either. I think his form over the last 3 years has been very, very poor. I think in terms of the attitude as well, clubs are going to look at that and they're going to be asking questions. Look, he's only 23 years old, all the ability in the world, but it's always been about the mentality with Sancho as well. But I don't know. Sancho does look like a lost cause at this moment. I don't see a route back for him into this team. The man says, will Ten Hag be choosing the players who will come? It's a good question. I would like to say the manager deserves an input on it, as they would do with other clubs, but it can't always just be a case of Manchester United picking who the manager wants as well. We got to have the structure. It's not like when Sir Alex Ferguson was the manager. And when Fergie was here, he picked the players. He picked who they signed. He picked who they sold because he wasn't just the manager. There has to be a long-term plan. There has to be the scouting. There has to be players who the club are looking at as well. We see this at a lot of other clubs. It's probably the best way to work it because, well, we need to have clear plans and clear directions of where we're really going to be going with the transfers and where we're going to build the team, what players we're going to look at, who comes in when. That's how the best teams are currently run, and that's probably how we should be run. And I don't think it's anything new either. It really isn't. Ferguson, for instance, always had replacements lined up for his players. He moved them on. He brought players in. That was what we did. That was the operations. I think if you look at Brighton, that's a really, really good example. There was a brilliant interview done with the head of recruitment at Brighton. He basically said that those guys have the replacements to their first team already lined up or at the club already. So they're already there, ready to go. That is the long-term planning we need, just so we're not jumping from one player to another. Jace is down there as well. Good to see you, man. Hope all is good. Just have a quick drink there as well. But yeah, good to see you guys as well. But we're definitely looking at centre-back signings. That is what we're going for. That's what we're looking at. And I think it's good. I do think it's what we need to be seeing across the board. I think it's a real problem area. It's going to help us out a lot in terms of the build-up, bring us more stability at the back. And I do like the list of players being touted as well. I think Inacio stands out because he's more of a left-footed player. I don't think he really fits in with those other players. It doesn't make sense to be looking at 3 or 4 right-footed signings to come in and play on the right side of the defense and one player to come in on the left. That doesn't quite fit in to me. I think if we're looking at Sporting Lisbon, the player we need is Diamond. Got a buyout of around £68 million. I think we've got one hell of a player in there physically in terms of what he can do on the ball. Only 18 years old as well. Really, really positive. player for sure. Yarlow's down there. If we're owned by someone new, then the transfer window comes around. The club will be in a restructure, new scouts, new director of football, and new CEO. Really, this transfer window will be a mess. Yeah, look, that's a very, very good point. I don't know if I see a lot changing either with it across this transfer window. Even if we, as you said, even if we have new ownership, I think one thing we have seen, and it has been spoken about from both camps, so the Qataris and for Radcliffe's camp, is that they would be giving a grace period, a kind of trial period to review the day-to-day operations of Manchester United. I think it was the Qataris were looking at a 100-day period and watch how the club would operate over that sort of time zone before making changes at the boardroom level. I think that's smart. I think it's smart business because a lot of the time we don't know with these guys as well just how capable they might be. Now, look, I think we can make our minds up on Murda, on Arnold, for instance, but there'll be people at the club definitely with their hands behind their back because of the ownership, because of the direction of the club, because of how we operate as a business and as a team, really. I think it will be interesting to see what happens there. I'm sure they'll want to bring their own people in as well, absolutely. And I had hoped that this takeover would be done by now. I really, really, and truly believe that as well. That could be something we would see by the end of this calendar year. We said it during summer, if the takeover goes through around September, October time, then maybe we could see something happen in the January window. Maybe we see some signings brought in, some investment, some money pumped into the club to bring those players in. Doesn't look like we're going to get that. It really doesn't. So it looks like this will be another Glazer window. Hopefully, it's not going to be another Glazer summer transfer window next year. I think that's more important, and I think that's the sort of time period we need to be looking at this moment in time. Look, things can change very quickly, of course, but I want to get touching on the takeover as well because there was news dropping today on this exact same subject. I believe it's some Qatari sources and some Middle Eastern news outlets basically saying that we were looking at bringing in, that the bid was going to go in again from the Qataris, that they were getting close. I don't know if I believe that. I really don't know. I'm not seeing the evidence in front of my eyes for that. It's annoying. It's frustrating, but I don't think we're going anywhere anytime soon with it either. And I think that's definitely an unfortunate side effect of the Glazer greed, of how this takeover's gone from start to finish. We're over 12 months at this point in this takeover. It still is not happening. It still looks no further. No closer to being done, which is a massive frustration for all fans and has to be for Manchester United as a club. It really does. But look, there's a lot of interesting stuff we want to go through tonight as well. Of course, quickly I'll draw your guys' attention. There was a behind closed doors friendly played today between some of the Manchester United players not on international duty and some of those, of course, who are coming back from injury and stuff. So we played Barnsley. We beat them 3-0 at Carrington today. I believe Donny Van De Beek managed to score a goal in that match as well. Let me just quickly pull up the news on that there. When Kobe Manu was meant to play, but they deemed him not yet ready for that one as well. But it's definitely an interesting one, guys. It's good to see that we're picking up a little bit of fitness and stuff in those players who might not have played a lot of matches. Some players coming back from injury. Hopefully that can help ease them back into the team. But yeah, it's not really overly important as well. Interestingly enough as well, we had it confirmed West Ham will not make another move for Harry Maguire in January or next summer. They cannot afford him. So that's going to be an interesting one there. What happens with Maguire? If we're bringing centre backs in, I think we might be moving on Harry Maguire. I think we might move on Raphael Varane at the end of this season. As good as he's been, I think the injuries are really piling up. So that's definitely something that we have to watch out for. Yeah, so this is coming in from Al-Qas TV Sports. I believe they're a Qatari outlet saying the Qatari takeover and Sheikh Jassim's ownership of Manchester United is very close. I think we can pretty much rubbish this. We've seen this for months. Qatari sources saying that, yeah, look, deal's done. It's going to be a Qatari-owned club. It's not happened yet. They said this 6 months ago. We are no further along with that one as well. But coming in as well from record in Portugal. Now, this is interesting on the centre back hunt, really. Manchester United are closing in um, on signing centre backs from the Portuguese league. They're currently in Lisbon to scout both Congalo Inacio and Benfica's Antonio Silva. Manchester United are convinced that they will be perfect as a pairing. Bruno Fernandes and Diogo Dalot could have a word with the pair on international duty. I don't know. I don't know, guys. Like it does kind of beg the question: where are we going to get this money from? Because obviously, all summer long we were told there's no money. We have to sell to buy. We have to raise the funds. I don't think we're going to get a centre back from selling Donny Van De Beek in summer. I really don't. With all the wish and goodwill in the world, I cannot see that one happening. Liman Sander, can the Middle East escalation have any impact on the Qatar takeover? It's a good question, that one, Liman. I'm not too sure about the politics of it. Really, if the UAE and the Qataris are overly involved with the Palestinian cause or anything going on there. I think Iran are quite involved in it, maybe, and some of the surrounding countries in that region, but I'm not 100% sure if the United Arab Emirates are overly involved in that one. But there is an interesting story coming out, and this is kind of showing what sort of money Manchester United are needing. This is coming in from the Daily Express. The owners of Manchester United have a massive decision to make on Old Trafford. Current estimates put a rebuild at £2 billion or upgrading the current ground at £1 billion. I think that's quite interesting as well, guys. What's going to happen there with that? Obviously, Old Trafford, a massive overhead cost, really, really needs repair or a new stadium. That is, nobody can deny that. Every single match where it's raining, there are holes in the roof. The ground is not up to scratch anymore. It hasn't been worked on in 20, 30 years. It desperately needs some refurbishment. It desperately needs some love. Maybe it's too far gone that we have to go and build a new stadium. But I think when we look at the current bids on the table, I can't see Radcliffe covering that cost. I really, really cannot. And with all the goodwill and all the wishing in the world, I would be so surprised if that's on his immediate agenda at Manchester United. And look, the current bid he's put down as well, 1.5 billion for 25%. That money goes to shareholders and to the Glazer family. I cannot see them saying 1.5 billion. Okay, here's a billion. Go fix up the stadium over the summer. I can't see that happening. It's just not going to happen. There is no chance at all. The comments are coming in as well. Jarl is saying, if we're owned by someone new, when the transfer window comes around, the club will be in a restructuring. New scouts, a director of football, CEO, and everything. The transfer will be a mess. Yeah, look, it's going to be a restructure for sure, man. It definitely is. And it's going to take a while for things to run smoothly. Drop a like on the video as well, guys. And keep voting on the poll as well, guys. It just says the club needs a complete restructure plan. Is it just me or the ball boys too slow in finding the ball? Look, Matt, it might even go down to as far as that. I don't know. I don't know if we need new ball boys, but I think pretty much everything else does need a bit of an upgrade. Jarl is saying as well, in June, the deal for the club was 90% done. So the paper in Qatar let everyone know they'd won. Suddenly, Joel and Avram wanted more money. It's illegal to report news that is not true there. Yeah, look, I think that's an interesting one as well. I think they can always spin it as well. It's very, very easily to do that. If they just said the Glazer family are holding out for more money, they're being unexpectedly greedy, you know, that kind of covers them as well. This coming in as well, I want to get talking about this when we touched on it a little bit earlier, and we want to get diving into some more detail on this one, and that is Anthony Martial. According to Peter Boyle as well, he is saying Anthony Martial is not keen to continue in a backup role at Manchester United with his contract running down. He wants to be the main man again at this stage of his career at Manchester United or elsewhere. Anthony Martial, if he managed to stay fit from injuries, would probably be up there with some of the best players in the world right now. That was the talent and the potential we bought. We know it hasn't happened with these injuries. They have really derailed his entire career, but I'm not seeing anything from Anthony Martial that makes me say, yeah, we should be starting this guy. I see a lot more from Højlund that makes me think, yeah, we've got something in this. This is a player here. This is someone who's going to do bits for this team, but I'm not seeing it from Anthony Martial. I think 4 or 5 years ago, maybe we could say if he can turn around the injuries, but it's been the same story for 4 or 5 years now. And that's not ever really going to change at this point, in my opinion. Genuinely will not. So yeah, look, I think Chelsea's a player we should have sold in the summer. I would have let him go in the summer. I think we can maybe see them move on without signing a deal. I feel like he's destined to leave for free. I feel like he's destined to be another expensive mistake by Manchester United who leave for free and we get nothing back in return for that one as well. So an interesting one coming in from Rob Dawson, and this is about other players being signed. Lots of transfer news coming out, and I think this is because we managed to beat Brentford. If we lost against Brentford, it would be all Eric Ten Hag gonna get sacked. But Rob Dawson has said today Manchester United could start speaking to Fiorentina and Tottenham about Sofyan Amrabat and Sergio Reguilon once Dean Henderson had left the club. And they could begin to make moves to make those deals permanent. Manchester United currently are not viewing the transfer window in January as a proper transfer window, but they will be on the lookout for desperately needed squad replacements. That's an interesting statement to me as well. That's an interesting one for sure, but is much going to happen there? I'm not 100% sure, but I do have one thing that might happen in January, and I think you guys will like this one. Coming in from the Daily Mirror, Manchester United could enter the race to sign Ivan Toney in January. Brentford are currently wanting around £60 million. I don't think that really goes hand in hand with the story we were just told there about United not viewing the January transfer window as a real window. And I think if we look at the track record over the last 10 years, we've had very, very little January business. We've brought in Bruno Fernandes, yes, but last year we brought in Weghorst and Sabitzer on loan deals. We've brought in Alexis Sanchez on a swap deal for Henrik Mkhitaryan. Those are some of the very few January deals I can really remember. I would be surprised if we pull out 60 million for Ivan Toney in January. I would be absolutely stunned, but I do think he's the type of player we need. I think he will go well with Højlund. We've got an experienced player in Ivan Toney who's still at the peak of his powers, and we got Højlund really starting to look like a player as well. So that could be a nice balance to have in that striking areas. Luman saying, will new players be willing to come when they know the manager favours certain players and the young players are also unable to get the minutes they deserve, let alone play full 90s? Yeah, look, they still will. They absolutely still will, because if it comes down to mentalities as well, I think we've seen, not this year, but the season before, Jurrien Timber seemed very unwilling to come to United because he thought he wouldn't get the match time. Rasmus Højlund was only 20 and made the jump and has become the main striker at Manchester United. I think if they're good enough, they'll back themselves. Look, we can talk about the manager having favourites. All managers do. Absolutely, they all do. And I know Anthony's the one that everyone's pointing out at the moment because of the Sancho situation, but really and truly, I don't think Sancho has done a lot to really deserve to play every match. Not uncontested anyway. But yeah, look, we could drop Rashford, we can drop Bruno, Casemiro, players like that. Make no mistake about it. But every manager does have their favorite players. You know, they always do. But let me just double check as well here. One more thing. Yeah, got it up there as well. But every manager has their favorite players. We can see it even if you look at Man City. Pep is playing Bernardo Silva as defensive midfielder instead of playing Calvin Phillips. He was playing John Stones there instead of playing Calvin Phillips last year. You know, we see these across the board. At Arsenal, we have Bukayo Saka being played, even though he's injured, ahead of, say, playing Jesus and Nketiah at the same time. Ultimately, he got injured, and that's what happened there. But Kai Havertz is another player not really delivering, but still getting the minutes. We see this across the board. We really do. Every manager will have their favorite players. But I think United are at a point now as well where a lot of the players we're talking about not maybe not being favoured by the manager. Are they really playing well enough to be in the team every single week either? I don't think they are. I mean, look, I know that Anthony hasn't been popular, but I don't think Facundo Pellistri has done enough to warrant starting every match. I would say the same at the minute for Garnacho based on the last 2 seasons, but increasingly I want to see more of Garnacho. I really do. But I do think, yeah, Ten Hag's got some big decisions to make. And I have a video coming out tomorrow on that one as well. I want to get talking about this one, though, guys, because we did mention earlier there was very little drama about Manchester United, but we do have one story coming in from Sami Mokbel in the Daily Mail. Manchester United staff are actively looking new employment after growing disillusioned with the club over the direction of the club as a whole and the handling of the Greenwood and Anthony domestic abuse cases. It's not great either, guys. Who have we got down below? Let's see. Cressy's down. What's the bookies odds on a San Tony? It's an interesting one there, man. I'm sure Tony won't be putting any bets on it himself. Wasim says kick Sancho out. Luman is down there as well. Hannibal needs to prove more. I think Hannibal's an interesting one. I think Hannibal could come in and play more matches. Absolutely, he could. But I think he's going up against some top players as well. I think Mount coming into form isn't brilliant for Hannibal. I think Bruno, as the captain, I would be surprised if he gets dropped. I would be. Not that it shouldn't happen either. Not that Ten Hag doesn't have a track record for dropping captains from the team for not playing well enough. I think, yeah, look, we could see some more of Hannibal, we could see some more of Garnacho, but outside of that, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not really thinking that we should drop Onana for Tom Heaton or Bayandere. I don't really think that we should be dropping, I don't know, like Anthony for Facundo Pellistri at the minute, because I don't think either are really setting the world alight too much either. Bon is down there. Man United serious, experienced, tough, and strong, hardworking centre defenders to replace Lindelof and Maguire. Yeah, look, we do. Absolutely, we do, man. We need some proper centre backs brought in. I think Varane's an interesting one as well. I really like Raphael Varane. I've always liked him as a player. I think he's genuinely still one of the best around, but it comes down to these injuries as well, guys, and that's a massive, massive concern. Daniel's down in the comments. Good to see you, man. Hope all is going good with you as well. But yeah, look, I would say as a whole, guys, there's a lot of work to be done in the team. Does Erik Ten Hag have his faults as a manager? Absolutely he does. Absolutely from top to bottom. But I don't think the favoritism's as bad as it's being made out to be. I think some people do have favorite players who they want to see more of. That's completely understandable. But should Ten Hag really be dropping Marcus Rashford to play Garnacho every week? I don't know if Garnacho's ready for that either. Of course, the other argument is how does he get ready for that without actually playing every week? You know, that's the other flip side of that coin. Jace is saying, don't you think it'd be a huge call for these youngsters to shoulder such responsibilities? The team is shit at the minute, and you have to manage them fairly, slowly integrate them into the team, or else they wouldn't meet up with the expectations, and we would have a go at them like we always do. Yeah, look, that's a good point as well. Like, if we were playing Garnacho every week, there would be people having a go at him. I remember Garnacho last year had a bad match against Leeds. He missed a couple of chances, and it wasn't brilliant. It wasn't a brilliant performance. He was involved, but he probably should have scored. And he had a lot of criticism on his back from people on YouTube, a lot of people on Twitter, a lot of people on social media. And then the next week he went out and scored against Leeds at Elland Road, scored the winning goal. I think that's unfair for young players. I don't think any player should really get abused, but I feel like at this point players like Rashford are going to be used to it as well. But yeah, look, it's easier to bring young players into a team when they're playing really well. It really is. I think if we look back at the example we always go back to, class of 92, it wasn't that was the team. They came into a side with Roy Keane, with Brian Robson in his latter years, Steve Bruce, Gary Pallister, Mark Hughes, Eric Cantona. Even when Rooney and Ronaldo were coming into the team at the start, it was still a team with Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes, Rio Ferdinand, top players. I think that's as much of a reason why we haven't seen a lot of top young players breaking through as well in recent years, is because the team as a whole hasn't been good enough. So fresh to saying we haven't had a centre back come through the academy in a while. It would be nice to see someone get a chance while the squad seems to be lacking in depth. Yeah, look, it would be absolutely. I think there's a real lack of top level young centre backs in the Manchester United academy. I think Reece Bennett's an interesting one. I think Kwambala, I think it is, French defender. That's an interesting one, but with the injuries, that ship might have sailed. I think United have some players in a good position coming through, and they're coming into different areas. I think we've got a lot of midfielders coming through. We're looking Dan Gore, we're looking Kobbie Mainoo, we're looking Hannibal. I think if we're looking further forward, Charlie McNeil is potential. Garnacho, as you know, has got, well, he's a first team player at this point as well. But even beyond that, you're looking at the likes of Shell Lacey coming through as well. There's some good young players coming through, make no mistake about it, but they don't seem to come through evenly, if that makes sense. We seem to get a lot of good midfielders at one time, or some really good wide players at the one time. But it's an interesting one as well. Wasim says Ten Hag is not the same as he was at the start. His man management is not the same. I think, yeah, like some things will have changed, absolutely. I think he's learning as he goes. And I think he does know that a lot of these players, they are mentally weak as well. Um, I think he's got to work on that for sure. I think can keep doing what he's doing. He is making mistakes as well. I think he has some big calls to make in terms of some of the more trusted players. The players who really last year made the difference for us in a lot of matches, won us a trophy, got us into the top four. The likes of Casemiro, the likes of Bruno, of Rashford, of Rafael Varane as well. Probably you could put Martinez in there. Luke Shaw. A lot of those have injuries this season. Yes, absolutely. Look, as a team, last year, three of the best players were Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford, and Casemiro. Rashford has one goal all season. Bruno Fernandes doesn't look as good as he did last year. Casemiro, the big one as well. And I think because Casemiro made such a massive impact last year, and we were singing his praises, rightly so, about how much of a good influence he was in the team, how defensively secure he made us, how good he was in midfield. I think this season it's a completely different player, and I don't know what's happened. I really don't. I don't think he's been the same player since probably since the Carabao Cup final, maybe a little bit later with his second suspension that he did pick up. I think it was against Crystal Palace, maybe. But since then, he hasn't looked like the same Casemiro that he had done for most of the year as well. Le Mans says, learn from Pep. Rico is 18 and so is Foden. Yeah, but Rico and Foden are top level players. Like, they are genuinely top quality. The likes of Gavin Bazunu were gone. The likes of Romeo Lavia have been moved on. Cole Palmer, and those are still good players, but Pep deems them not good enough to get into the team. They let a lot of players go over the summer as well in the academy areas. I think, yeah, look, we can make the arguments. Hannibal should get some more minutes. We should give more minutes to Kobbie Mainoo when he comes back. But I think a lot of these players probably will not make it at Manchester United. And that's the hard truth of it as well. I think the likes of Amari Force, Noam Emeran, probably not going to make it at Manchester United. Mark Jurado left in the summer, of course. I think Alvaro Fernandez maybe is an outside shot. I think he has had a good loan spell so far playing for Granada, but I do think across the board there's some players who will not make it, and that's the cold hard truth of football as well. Let me just double check as well. I'll just pull this up just because we were talking about City as well. He else we got down below in the comments. Chia says City aren't good. Get the point. Uh, Football is saying apparently 35-year-old Socrates is available on a free. We'll get him. Yeah, look, got some Glazer economics there as well for you. That is a Glazer signing if ever there was one. So Fresh says Rashford seemed to be more useful to the team when he was in central positions. Don't like the idea of him on the wing because his work rate chasing back. Is Sancho going in January? I think there's a real good chance we see Sancho move on in January. Absolutely, there is. Maybe on a loan, but I think he needs to be sold at some point. I don't think it's ever really going to work out for the guy, unfortunately. But I think across the board, yeah, you're probably right on that one. Rashford does pick up the goals moving from outside to in. His work rate isn't good enough. Absolutely, it's not. But I think through the middle, he doesn't give too much either in terms of his overall play. Yeah, he can score the goals, but does he hold the ball up? Does he fight for it? Does he work hard enough? I don't think we get out of Marcus Rashford what we get from Rasmus Højlund. And I think that's a big call that we're going to have to make as well. Will be easier to integrate young players when the team is playing better, don't you think? Yeah, look, it will be, absolutely. You know, when pressure is off in a match and you're 2 or 3-0 up against Nottingham Forest or Crystal Palace or Sheffield United, then you can bring young players on without any pressure, and there's no expectation on them to do anything. They can go out and enjoy themselves and play with courage, with bravery, as young players should be as well. Wasim says, why does at United the change of management take so long? Like changing 5 managers, but still the same. Will United come back to our old days? Yes, look, I have absolute confidence we will. And I don't think we're going to have to wait 30 years for our next title like Liverpool had to wait. I think Manchester United are in a good position with young players. We've got to fix some big issues in the team, but I actually think the team as a whole is a lot better than what the results would say we are. And I think we've been playing below ourselves. We've been playing badly, yes, and we've been losing matches. But I think the team as a whole is better than what it might appear on paper as well. So Fresh says would like to see him working from Højlund. Yeah, look, it could be an interesting partnership if we want to go for that. Is Sancho waiting for Ten Hag to get the sack? That is what they're saying. If you believe the rumors as well, Luman, it's kind of like he's thinking if the pressure keeps building, then he might outlast Eric Ten Hag. Absolutely. Lucky's down there. Good to see him, man, as well. United really Regulon back and Garnacho. Yeah, look, when I see some Garnacho, good to see you in there, Lucky, as well. But just go back to Man City as well, guys. A lot of players left there over the summer. Cole Palmer, Riyad Mahrez, Laporte. But if we're looking at young players, Yangel Herrera left the club. Bustos left the club. Harwood, Bellis, McAtee, Kabura, Tommy Doyle. A lot of good young players left the club there. And it's not that Pep does give the best of the best a chance, but I think United needs to be ridding out. We can't just play them just for the sake of playing them as well. Luman is down there as well. Oh, sorry, I said Lucky. Yeah, Lucky. How was the match? Did you enjoy the Brentford match? I'm sure you were celebrating a lot with those McTominay goals. You really couldn't have got a more dramatic end to a match. Sure, you enjoyed that one as well, man. But yeah, how was your time at Old Trafford, Lucky? I hope you had a good one as well. Lucky is saying Malacia should be back against Sheffield United. He probably will be. So I think it will be good to have a left back. I think that's a big issue. And as bad as Rashford's been, I think he's better with Luke Shaw beside him, or any kind of left back as well. I think it has been difficult on that left hand side. And I think that's why we struggled as well, because, look, I've said it so many times, guys. You know, Manchester United are a team who are very, very dependent on the left hand side to score the goals and to build up through and to do most of the attacking work. Because when players are playing as good as they can, and everybody's available and fit, with Martinez on the left and Luke Shaw as your build-up players coming out of the back, moving into midfield with Bruno on that side, with Marcus Rashford on that side, that's where you get a lot of Manchester United's attacking output. A lot of the goals, a lot of the assists, a lot of the chances are made on that left-hand side. So I think getting a left back will definitely help Manchester United out for sure. Stephanie says we're up to 21 likes, guys. Thank you very much for the likes so far. Drop a like if you guys haven't already, and please consider hitting the sub button as well. Really does help the channel out as well. But yeah, look, going back to the poll, what have we got here? 30 votes so far, 47% saying Tobido should be the player we sign. 13% for Inacio, 17% for Tapsoba, 23% for Antonio Silva as well. Wasim's down there. Tell me a single match which United deserve to win this season. I think, yeah, look, there is matches we should have won that we didn't. I think we definitely should have beat Galatasaray. They really didn't offer too much. I know they scored 3 goals, but those goals were of our own making. I think Crystal Palace at home in the Premier League, we should have won that match fairly comfortably. I think ha- other than a VAR call in the Arsenal match, we would have won that one because we went 2-1 up in the 89th minute. Of course, we could and should have went on to win that one. I think the Tottenham match could have been very different if we got that penalty in the first half, which we should have had right before half time. Would have really changed that match. So I think I think those are matches where we could have won, where we maybe should have won. Even Bayern Munich, to go to Germany and score 3 goals and not at least get a point, very disappointing. And we could have won that one as well. I think we got to improve on that for sure. I think the general level of performance has to go better. If buts, maybes are all well and good, but we've had too many of them this season. I think if we play a bit better, and I think the biggest issue is mentality wise. I cannot stress enough, guys, how many times this season have we watched Manchester United go a goal up and within 5 minutes we've conceded an equaliser? So many times. It happened twice against Galatasaray, happened 3 times against Bayern Munich, happened against Arsenal, it happened as well against I think it might have been Nottingham Forest as well. That was another instance of that happening. So we got to be better at protecting ourselves against that. We seriously do. Lucky's down there. We're poor, to be honest. 100 Arsenal and Galatasaray should have beat them as well. Brighton would be a good one. Stephanie, you're right as well. We should have beat Palace and Brighton for sure. I think the thing is with the Brighton match, we probably, if it wasn't for that VAR call ruling the Hoyland goal out, incorrectly, might we add as well, because there was no real way to accurately determine it. So I don't know if they really should have got involved there. I think you might have been talking about a different result on the day. If we went, I think it would have put us 1-1. Of course, we did score as well later on in that match before Brighton made it 3-1. So we could and should have done better on that day. Look, Brighton were the better team there. I can't argue with that, of course. But I do think there's more to this team than the results would suggest. I think if we can put something off a run, a lot of things will click together. The confidence will improve. I think we'll see more goals in the team. We'll see the backline looking more confident. And I think we can do that. I think it's so important that we build upon the momentum that we picked up against Brentford. I know it's only Brentford, but that result meant a lot, and we could feel it as a fan base. We saw the celebrations in the ground from the manager, from the fans, from the players. It meant a lot, and we could see the sense of release there as well. That's one of those matches that has to be a turning point. If we go out and beat Sheffield United, beat Copenhagen, then we'll be in some decent form. We then play City at Old Trafford. That's going to be a very, very difficult match to get anything out of. Make no mistake about it. But we will find out. And we will find out pretty soon what's going to happen there. But picking up the results against the teams we should be beating will start to build the confidence that we need to go on. Absolutely will. GS, you're right as well, man. You're so correct. We can say it after the first 20 minutes. Yeah, a lot of the matches have went the same. A lot of them have. What we do is we start a match quite well for 20 minutes. And if we do not score, then we end up letting the first goal in. We concede and we find ourselves on the back foot. And that, for me, is so frustrating as well. Wasim says, cannot understand why there's no fighting spirit as soon as we score or concede a goal. Yeah, look, it's so true. With most teams, what we typically find is if they concede a goal that wakes them up and they come out and they play really intensely, they work harder, the players start to get together, or if they score a goal, the confidence is up and they're like, yeah, look, we're a goal up, let's get another. Manchester United seem to score a goal and we ask ourselves, what do we do now? And that for me is so frustrating as well. Lucky says we have to get Garnacho to start against Sheffield. We need more goals against Sheffield United as well. Absolutely, we do. Just says, remember I said this here first, Sheffield United at home with their fans behind them will win against us. I hope you're wrong. I really hope you're wrong as well, Chase. I think we should be winning that match. Absolutely. Sheffield United, not good enough. The teams at the bottom, Burnley, Sheffield, Luton, they've picked up 9 points between them this season. We gotta be beating them. We have to be beating them. No excuse whatsoever. And I think realistically we should be turning up to Bramall Lane. We should be putting 3-4 goals past them. Will that happen? I don't know. I really don't. I hope we do. I seriously hope we do. And I think it'll be a confidence builder, even if it is only beating Brentford and Sheffield United. I think that makes a difference. And then if we beat Copenhagen, that's 3 wins in a row. And we go up against City at home. Old Trafford will be up for it. The players have to be up for it. And let's hope we can get something out of that match. We beat them last time there. We know we can do it as well. Lucky says Sheffield United have been promoted. Yes, and it's not going well for Sheffield United either. They're really not looking like a team that's going to stay in the league. Stephanie's done there. Thankfully, we've had 4 wins. And drawing is like losing, but we deserved a point at Arsenal and maybe at Spurs. Yeah, look, I think we could have beat Arsenal. I think we didn't play better than them on the day. Make no mistake about it. But I think we could and should have won that match if it was such a similar VAR call to the Luis Diaz one. If that went our favour, which it easily could have, then we would find ourselves 2-1 up in the 89th minute, and we probably go on to win that match. At least get a draw. At least get a draw. Liman saying, does Rashford deserve to start against Sheffield United? No, he doesn't. I would start Garnacho. And I think that's a good match as well. If we were playing Man City next, I would say, look, Garnacho, if we put him on, he's probably not going to be in that match. But I think he can do bits against Sheffield United, and I think he will if he plays. So I absolutely would have him into that team as well. Lucky says, I expect a better line for the away game. Yeah, look, I expect us absolutely put a beating on Sheffield United, even if it's only 2-0. That's fine. Keep a clean sheet, that builds some confidence. Score some goals, that builds some confidence. But I want to see us put a beating on someone, and I think we can do it. I think if we go there and score 3 or 4, and Rashford picks up a goal, Mount picks up a goal, maybe Bruno, I think that brings a lot of confidence into that team. And I think confidence is okay. I think a lot of those players do not look confident at the minute. I think they're doubting themselves. I think we're seeing bad decisions being made by a lot of players who we would expect more from. Hopefully it will improve. Hopefully we will beat Sheffield United and then we move on. We go on to Copenhagen. We have to beat them to have any hope of doing anything in the Champions League for sure. Let's see, Lucky's down there. We have to play the youngsters, Ericsson and Garnacho. I'm not even sure, Lucky, as well, man. I think some young players, yeah. I think we could put Hannibal in there. I think we could put Garnacho. Wasim saying, why Onana still in goal? Onana is still in goal because he is a new player brought in. He's going to be given time to settle. He's going to be given time to really find his feet at Old Trafford. I don't think Tom Heaton or Bayern Dare are going to play ahead of him. I would be shocked if they do. I think we should be playing Onana. I think he will get better with a more settled back four. And I think his confidence as well is very low. I think looking at him in the first 2 or 3 matches, he was off his line, he was sweeping up, he was on the halfway line at times against Tottenham Hotspur in their stadium. And that seems to have fallen out as well. And that's the real strength of his game. So it's a confidence thing with him. He needs to work on that for sure. Stephanie says, front 3 of Anthony, Højlund and Garnacho going forward. Yeah, I wouldn't mind saying that. I think that could be quite nice. I think ideally this would probably be my preferred lineup out of who's available for the Sheffield United match. I would put Onana in goal. I think we should be keeping a clean sheet there, and I think that builds his confidence if he keeps a clean sheet. I think Delo at right back because Wan-Bissaka won't be there. I think centre back's an interesting one. If Varane's fit, he plays. I would then play Maguire at left centre back. I know people don't like Maguire, but I'm so done with Victor Lindelof as well. Maybe Johnny Evans could play. Left back, Reguilon, put him back in. Midfield 3, I'd like to see Amrabat, Mount and Bruno. I think that would work in this type of match. And I'm just enjoying watching Amrabat. Front 3's got to be Garnacho left, Højlund through the middle. And depending if Anthony's available, push him on the right. I think that gives us a good way to get at Sheffield United. It should be a match. We pick up some goals. We win quite comfortably. Lucky says Martial could get a good run for that match. I don't think Martial will either, Lucky man. I really don't. I think he's definitely second choice. I think he should be moving on as well. Gia says Onana should stop trying to impress people. He should focus. I'm not sure what it is with him either. it is some silly mistakes he's making. I think he's a lot better than the levels he's showing at the minute for sure. Is Amrabat best at attacking mid or defensive mid? He's best at defensive mid. You can play him more box to box, but I think he's better in the defensive mid position because he's just going to pick the ball up. He's just going to play the passes, play a lot of them, help us move up the pitch, play forward passes, take the ball off the back line under pressure, drop in. I think it's just what he offers is maybe better than what Casemiro offers in that position because I'm not sure if Casemiro has the legs to get up and down the pitch anymore. Amrabat certainly does, for sure for me. So I would like to see him again starting in that defensive midfield role. I think that's going to get the best out of us as a team and get the best out of Sofyan Amrabat as well. All right, guys, with that in mind, I'm going to drop off here and leave the stream just where we are. So thanks so much for watching. Keep an eye out. Tomorrow we'll have a video coming up on the 5 things we have learned so far this season. Keep an eye out for that one. And I'm going to record some short videos as well tomorrow. So those probably might get one up tomorrow and a couple over the weekend. So make sure to watch out for that one. And we'll catch everyone on the next live. Actually, I'll go through them. Lucky says Reguilon, Evans, Maguire, and Varane. Has Onana lost confidence after being lobbed in pre-season? I'm not sure if it's in pre-season. I think he started the season confidently. I think maybe he's a little bit rattled with the injuries and stuff in the back line. I think that might be an issue. I think I maybe just froze there a second. Haven't just quite dropped off, but that's us now, guys. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll catch everybody in the next one.